So here's my review for episode 6 of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 3. I will say by the ending of this episode, I was kind of surprised by some of the reveals here, which I guess is a really good thing, right? And yeah, I'm interested in seeing where this is going to go by the finale here, because I do feel like it's going to be a pretty sad finale. I just have this feeling that there's going to be some big character deaths, and just with what they're building up here, I really liked a few moments in this episode that I really just didn't see happening at all. I thought it was just going to go this way, and it didn't, and we actually got a really cool moment out of it. So yeah, before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. But yeah, let's just talk about this first episode here, or episode 6. So it starts off, I would say, in the most, I guess, predictable way. Daryl runs into Paz, and basically they're on their way to Barcelona. I thought that maybe there would be something more there to the scene, but the pacing was pretty fast there. I think it's okay in this situation here because, again, like the last episode was sort of a bottle episode showing Daryl's journey to Barcelona. I think that's totally fine. Like, he left, I think, at the end of episode 4. And then in episode 5, we saw him go on this whole mission, which is a really great episode. And then in episode 6, he finally gets there, right? So to me, I'm okay with that. I think that for pacing, that works really well. I think, if Daryl were to make it back home, like, I guess not home, but, to Solaz Del Mar, in this episode, after what happened at the ending there, that I think would have been a little surprising. Like, wait, what? You traveled all the way back? And so I think it makes sense as to why Daryl at the end is just like, well, where's Alcazar, right? So, yeah, I will say Daryl and Paz's story here was, honestly, all the characters had really incredible stories here. There was a big side story here. Well, I don't even know if I would say it's a side story. It was kind of a big part of the episode, which was, I guess, Roberto's backstory, but kind of more Antonio's backstory. I actually wrote in my notes here that it was a Roberto flashback, because at first you just see Roberto with his mom, and then all of a sudden you see Antonio, and then it becomes a whole thing as to, why Antonio's wife or Roberto's mom wasn't there anymore. And I think that whole thing, it really is something that I guess for sure would affect Antonio forever, really, because it was like this cause or just whatever that he believed in. And his wife, I guess, didn't necessarily believe in it, but, she was just kind of doing whatever because, like, he wanted her to help or whatever. And it just ended up really, really bad. And, obviously I feel so horrible for her. And I think for Antonio, it's just something that he's going to have to live with forever. And so Roberto finding out about that, like, I'm just interested in the character development there and what's going to happen next for Roberto and Antonio, because it just, that whole thing there. Also, we kind of got confirmation that I guess Fede also, I guess, there was a connection there with Roberto's mother as well. So I think it does make some sense as to why, he's so protective over Justina, and then Roberto being involved. Like, there's just a lot of jealousy and just like issues there, right? There's a lot of stuff that he really does not like Antonio. Like, they just don't like each other. And I think the whole flashback thing through, I guess a home video was definitely a really smart way to do that, I would say. Like, honestly, I think it works really well because it's something that's very different. We've seen a lot of like flashback stuff that was just like literally like it takes us back to the scene, like with Isabel or with Daryl or etc., right? This was mostly, obviously the ending was different, but this was mostly just a home video. And so it's kind of cool. Like, it was definitely very cool to see a different side, or I guess just a perspective really in the apocalypse. And also at the very end, the reason why I say apocalypse is because at the very end, he's upset that she's gone or whatever. And then everybody starts turning to walkers. And so it's that big reveal there that it's like, yeah, that literally happened right when the apocalypse started. And it was in Barcelona. So really interesting. Like, we saw literally, the beginning of the apocalypse in Barcelona. And when that happened, Rick Grimes' brother was actually there. So, it's kind of a close connection to that. We're getting closer and closer to that. I don't know if they're going to ever confirm Jeffrey Grimes, but like, just seeing the apocalypse happen in Barcelona was definitely an Easter egg for all of that. Like, we're getting closer and closer to that. I don't know if they're ever going to confirm that character, honestly, but we're building to it. Like, we're building, the story all around that. All we have to do is just see the character. Like, literally the enemy or the villain, like, home base is in Barcelona right now. So that's going to be something that, we'll see what happens here, obviously, in the finale. Like, they're going to El Alcazar. I'm not sure where that is, but it could be somewhere in Barcelona. And then, we'll have to wait and see what, happens in the finale here. It's going to be a really, I think, crazy finale. And we'll have to see how this builds to season 4. In Solaz Del Mar, there was a lot of like small reveals that I was actually really happy that they kind of put closure on, because, and also I will say with Fede, like, I do like the character a lot, for sure. I do like the character because he's just different from everyone else. You know, like, he's not, obviously, I wouldn't say he's a villain at all, but he's definitely not like a hero at all, right? And I think that aspect to it definitely makes him a lot more interesting because his goal is to keep the community safe. There's some issues there that he has with Antonio and all of the lying, I guess. And that's the thing, too. I was a little bit confused on that whole thing there because obviously we knew what happened with Roberto and Justina and El Alcazar and everything. And so just Carol twisting things and lying about this, and then Antonio doing the same thing. But then there's also kind of some truth to it as well with what happened, like with the cat, and Roberto was also sick. And so, you know, you got to question, like, obviously he was already sick, but he just started to get a lot worse. And he wouldn't give him medicine, like, at all. And so there's a lot of things there where I think it's easy to set him up. I don't know if there's confirmation. Like, did I miss that in the episode? I don't think there is. I think that maybe there's some truth to it in a sense, but I don't think Fede is necessarily like that evil or anything. I just think there's definitely some issues there, though. I will say, you know, the way he's running the community overall, it's just, I mean, it's cool to actually have somewhat of a story here that, you know, we have a character like Fede that, like, it makes sense, I think, as to why Solaz Del Mar has been surviving this long and why El Alcazar controls the whole place. Like, if you have a leader like Fede, like, that's going to happen. But they did find the 3 men from El Alcazar that were actually, obviously, Daryl took them out, I think in the first episode, or no, second episode. And so they're found here. And again, really nice that wasn't forgotten because I thought that they literally just forgot about that whole thing. And so that there ties into everything here. And so Fede is like, okay, Carol's lying about this. And so a lot more drama here in Solaz Del Mar. And then also Daryl and Paz, you know, on their journey here, they actually end up, I don't know what the community's called. I didn't catch a name or anything like that, but Daryl at one point says like nice crossbow or whatever. And so that was kind of funny. But I will say, what happened to his? Did he lose it on the bike or did he leave it at the boat? Like, I'm trying to think of what happened to his crossbow. I just have not been paying attention. I'll have to go back and look in the last couple of episodes just what happened because I literally just completely forgot. But Daryl and Paz and that group there, they plan to attack. And so I think a lot of the city shots here, it really felt like Atlanta. I know that it was just literally simply because they were in a city and they were on a rooftop, but it just reminded me of Atlanta when they were all on the rooftop trying to survive and there were walkers everywhere and they were like planning this attack. It just gave me, you know, that sort of feeling of, I guess, what the story was like in season 1 of The Walking Dead. And that whole attack scene there, I think was probably, honestly, one of the best scenes, I would say. Well, not one of the best, definitely top 5 of the season. It was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it because it was really realistic and the action, I think, worked so well. This show does it so great. Like, I'm thinking of the season 2 finale of this show. Like, it was the same thing. I think it's the type of guns they're using. I don't know what it is. It's just, there's this feeling of like, this is so grounded and like, it works so well. And yeah, the whole ambush scene and everything, you know, Daryl could not open that lock. And like, I really thought that he was going to be able to. Like, I kept thinking like, well, just shoot it or something, like just get it open. And that was not working. And he kept trying everything and it would just not open. And then the walkers were showing up. I think eventually he would have got it open, but that I was not, you know, expecting. I actually thought that eventually it would work because at first he was trying to like pry it open. Then he found keys and he's trying all of that and it just wasn't working. He's like, what's going on? He tries to shoot it and everything and it's not breaking or working or just like anything. And so walkers show up and just like that disappointment there, like the sadness there on Daryl's face when he was like he couldn't let Justina go. Like he did not want to leave her there. And then she was just taken away. And Daryl was literally just like completely heartbroken there. And that's why I love this scene because the action was really good. But I thought that he was going to save her. I really thought that he was going to find a way to break that lock or just something different. Like maybe he was having a hard time, but then someone else would do it or just, you know what I mean? Like there would be a different way, I guess, to get her out of that situation. And no, it just literally ended with her still being taken away. And so they did all of that really for what? Now El Alcazar, like they're aware of what just happened. He saw like literally the king Torres, or the soon-to-be king Torres. He saw Daryl and Paz, and so like he knows that, you know, like they're on their way there. And I think Daryl, like at the very end there, obviously he seemed really disappointed with everything there, and him and Paz are just gonna go straight after them still. I think that's definitely the smartest thing to do. I really do think that because if they went back and they were just like, I don't know what to do, El Alcazar is going to go after them and they'll be ready. Right now, they're not necessarily ready, right? So I think it makes sense in terms of just like, if you're looking at it like that, I think it makes so much sense. And so, yeah, now I'm thinking about, what's going to happen like in the finale here, because there's still that scene of Daryl and Carol, obviously on the shores of Spain, and they're talking about, I guess just like Daryl's like, why'd I even leave and all of that. I don't know if that's like the ending of the episode, but like at this point, I'm wondering now, is that the ending of the episode? I mean, I'm assuming that Daryl and Carol are going to see each other at some point in the finale. So, yeah, how is all of that going to go? Who's going to die? What's happening now? Like, I'm so excited for this finale because everything's been so unpredictable. I don't know where they're going here. And I think that was a really great way to end the story. Daryl also had a flashback in this episode as well, which, we actually hear Merle trying to save Daryl. And yeah, you see Daryl's, dad or stepdad just super upset and angry and just whatever. And Daryl's running away. And Merle's saying, like, don't worry about me, just leave and just like never come back. And obviously, I don't know if this is when Daryl was I don't think this is when his mom died. I think this is probably afterwards. It seems like it was afterwards. And I believe that they were 13 and 10 years old at the time. So this might have been after their mom was gone. And Daryl was just dealing with a lot of stuff at this point here. And I mean, to see a lot of that, and then Daryl wakes up and it's like a nightmare. Like, he's just constantly thinking of this. I'm really wondering what we're going to see in the finale, because there's a reason why we're seeing all this stuff here. And I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go for Daryl here. And I will say the one thing here that I found also frustrating, I talked about this in a video the other day because I broke down the scene, I guess, from the finale. But Daryl does say, like, he lost a lot of people because Paz is like opening up as to, I guess why she's here, just her backstory in general. And Daryl's like, yeah, I lost a lot of people. And I'm just like, why no mention of Rick? Like, I get it in that situation almost where it's like, you don't want to mention, I guess Rick, but like, you don't have to mention his name, but you could have said, well, I was like looking for someone and then this happened. And it was just kind of like he didn't get into anything. It was just kind of like, you know what I mean? It's stuff like that that is so, so frustrating. And because in the finale, we've seen that scene where Daryl and Carol are talking about everything. Daryl just kind of literally ignores all that and is just like, why'd I even leave? And it's just, the whole thing is so frustrating when it comes to not mentioning Rick Grimes. I don't understand why they can never say Rick. Like, it's always been a thing. Even going back to The Walking Dead, like after he left, they had to refer to him as the Brave Man and like all these different things. And I'm like, okay, your kid's not going to call you the Brave Man. Like, you're going to call your dad, right? Like, you're not going to be like the Brave Man. It's like, no, you're going to say dad. Like Judith should have said dad. Like, I think this was in season 10 when Michonne left. Oh, so you found dad or something like that. I don't remember exactly what the dialogue was, but from what I remember, it was something like, oh, like you found the Brave Man, or is it the Brave Man? Or it was something like that. And it's just, I don't like that. I really don't. I don't think we're ever going to hear that again. I mean, it's just one of the worst lines, honestly, on The Walking Dead. It's just absolutely insane to, like at first it was really cool because they were telling the story of the Brave Man. And it was kind of cool in that sense. In the very, very beginning, but just the way it's been used since then, it does not work. It really doesn't. So anyways, overall though, I really enjoyed this episode. I don't know if I preferred it over episode 5, but this was definitely up there for sure. It's not like the worst episode of the season or like halfway, I guess in a ranking. I would say it's definitely up there for sure. I would have to think of how I would rank all the episodes in this season here, but really incredible episode here. A lot of twists, I would say, in the story that I just wasn't expecting, and I'm excited for the finale. I really cannot wait to see how this is going to end, and obviously how they build up the final season. We're probably going to get a trailer for the final season, so I'll do a breakdown of that next Sunday. And then we have to wait, I guess, probably close to a year before we obviously watch the final season. But I mean, it'll be like 11 months. But before that, 3 or 4 months before that, we'll get the trailer. We'll get a bunch of teasers beforehand. There'll be like Dead City to watch. Also, there's a lot of Rick Grimes stuff that we're going to be obviously talking about for a while, because I think the confirmation of that could really be announced or just it could happen at any point now. So we'll be sort of on Rick Grimes's return watch pretty much for the next a couple of months here. Maybe they'll announce it at the event happening this month. We'll have to wait and see, but I would say this episode for sure, really solid episode, really great, and I'm excited to see where they're going to go in the finale. So post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.